I have a really serious topic as well as a topic that I hope that gets shared and spread so that we could build awareness. I my background is in education. I have a background in the classroom. Of course, I was in the classroom from a different perspective than I have today. And the ability or the blessing to be able to go into the classroom now is based on the field of awareness I have today. I can actually study and see what's going on and then come back and talk to you guys about what's going on in the classroom. So now you as parents, you as teachers, people are like, I teach the teachers how to teach. Do you teach the teachers how to evolve the children, which is my gift? To teach humans how to evolve self and others. That's my gift. So when I'm in these classrooms, I'm observing these students. I'm like, I need to come back and tell the girlies, the community, this is happening. You may not be aware because you're not in class with your students. You don't have that privilege, so you only know your student at home. I'm going to tell you who your student is at school, and I'm going to tell you how to fix that. So those videos are actually coming, but that's not why I'm here. I just wanted to put that in there so you understand my perspective is coming from a parent. My perspective is coming from a legacy healer. My perspective is coming from a coach. My perspective is coming from a teacher. So the other day, my son comes home and he's telling his father, and it's like, he lived his whole day and he comes up to his dad while his dad is asleep, little incoherent, and he's telling him about some little boy in his class who's touching him inappropriately. And, well, I asked additional questions, and I was like, well, what does inappropriate mean? He's like, he's touching him on his buttocks, and, he's touching him on his and making him really uncomfortable. And he told the teacher, well, what did the teacher do? The teacher told him to stop. I was like, well, I'm going to tell you what to do. So me and his father told him what to do, and we're going to leave that at that. And we thought, that was that. And now my son comes home again, and he's like, man, this kid, he keeps messing with me. And he's telling more of the story, right? Because you have to understand, when your kid starts talking, they're going to tell you some of the story. Never believe, think about when you were a kid. Never believe your kid is telling you the whole story because they may not know how much of the story is relevant, right? So it's not that your child necessarily is moving in, I'm only going to tell you a part of the story. They only have the awareness to know that they're going to tell the relevant information, the part that makes him uncomfortable at this time, the part that's going to get a reaction from my parent, the part that's going to get the said action I desire. We don't know the motivation, but what I'm saying, as parents, we ask additional questions to get additional information. But also, if you're moving in divinity and you're praying God's divine protection over your children daily, every thing gonna come to you, period. So he comes home and he's like, man, this kid, and he's like, he keeps touching me. And so now it's not in the middle of the night, and I'm like, okay, what's going on? And he's like, he keeps touching me on my buttocks, he keeps touching me on my penis, and he is moaning in my ear and calling me daddy. I was like, oh Lord Jesus, the city block, you better evacuate because taking out the whole city block. So I want to speak topically enough to where I don't say offensive things because I am an educator. But I want to speak detailed enough because I am an educator. People are sending their children in this state, and we as coherent adults automatically understand. If a child, like we get some kids, like Caden is 5. He's never been around other children. His around my peers at home is different than my around my peers at school energy. And some kids don't know how to dial that back. That's why in kindergarten you have hitting, you have biting, you have all these different things because they're in their home environment and with their siblings, or maybe they're only children, so the first time they're around other kids, they don't know how to respond. But they come from an aggressive home, so when they get into an environment, they're doing the aggressive things. You understand, everything that you do at home goes to school. So when this child is leaning into my son's ear and saying, "Daddy," touching him in his private areas, he's either observing this somewhere or he's experiencing it personally. Now we've got a requirement to report situation. Because once a teacher is aware, a teacher is required to report. Can't speak for what's happening at the school because they can't let me know as far as how they're handling this other student. But of course, I took that information and I messaged his teacher. I messaged my contact with the school who's influential, and I said, yo, the old me, she wanna come out, but I trust your leadership, so this is what's happening. And he said, I'll take care of it. So this morning on my way to jury duty, I get a phone call that says, Mrs. Appleton, this is such and such. I have Michael here. The other student's in with the other person in authority. We're handling the situation. And I was like, I just need you guys to know that this is not a Michael situation. We can resolve this with Michael, but if we do not resolve this kid will move from Michael to someone else's children, to someone else's child, with a parent who's not paying attention. And now we have a child who has been speaking to everyone who was capable of listening, because Michael reported it to coaches, Michael reported it to teachers, Michael reported it to all types of authority, even told his parents, who he had to tell me a second time for me to pick it up. How many times are these children coming to the adults in their life? A first, a second, a third, a fourth time before they're heard. So I just wanted to let you guys know that this is what's happening in our schools. This is what your children are exposed to. So now I'm sitting my 7 and my 5-year-old down, not only having a conversation with them about if and when this occurs, how you need to respond to this, but also we're talking about corn exposure, because now they're at an age group, they're at an age group as a collective. You understand, you address issues, whether you have to address the issue, whether your home environment calls for it, you must address issues once you become aware. So now we're talking about corn exposure, you being over your friend's house, and you know, when you're watching TV, when you turn your eyes away, your friend may come to you and say, hey, you want to look at this? How you gonna handle that? And now start tying that into their development so that they understand when their kid comes or their friend comes to them, because their friend will. They know how to handle it because you already put them up on game. So I just want to make you guys aware. Talk to your kids. Listen to your children, especially educators. Just because they got little voices, they saying big shit.